Here's the league's third leading scorer in Caitlin Clark. Spinning on Bueckers. They go one-on-one, and Clark wins the matchup.
Caitlin Clark went 2 for 10 from 3 in the first half against the Dallas Wings on Friday night. Down 3 points at the start of the fourth quarter. Paige Bueckers on the other side playing the best basketball of her young career, and then Clark decided enough was enough. She scored 16 of her 29 points in a single third quarter.
Players outside the three-point line.
Clark shot fakes the three and gets to the rim.
Indiana opened the fourth on a 15-2 run. Clark's three turned a 3-point deficit into a 10-point lead. The Fever held Bueckers to 2 field goal attempts in the entire fourth quarter. Indiana won 98-87, and Clark finished with her 20th career game with 20 or more points and 10 or more assists.
It's real quiet out there. Caitlin Clark breaking more records, destroying Paige Bueckers, destroying the Dallas Wings, showing why. Oh, that's the did that look like the 11th best guard to y'all? Did that look like the 11th best guard to y'all? I think
no other player in WNBA history has more than 10 such games. Not Diana Taurasi, not Sue Bird, not Aja Wilson. Clark has 20 and counting. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications right now, because what Clark did in Indianapolis on Friday night is the clearest MVP statement of this entire WNBA season. Here is what makes Friday's performance so different from every other Clark game this season. She was bad in the first half, not slightly off, 2 for 10 from 3. The Fever shot 39% in the first half. Dallas controlled the pace. Bueckers was doing whatever she wanted on the other end. Indiana went to halftime trailing and flat, and Clark came out of that locker room and made a decision.
Was able to kind of jumpstart our defense a little bit, and I thought our defense in the fourth quarter was really good. I think we only held Paige to 2 field goal attempts, so just credit to our group. We kind of turned up the heat a little bit, threw some traps at them. We're in rotation a little bit, so I think
that is Clark diagnosing her own first half in real time and adjusting. The threes were not falling, so she stopped taking them. She attacked the paint. She put Dallas in rotation. She created the open looks for Mitchell, Boston, and Cunningham that the Wings could not stop. And in the third quarter alone, she scored 16 points, more than she had scored in the entire first half. That is not a player getting hot. That is a player making a conscious tactical decision to take what the defense gives her instead of forcing what she wants. That is what separates Clark from everyone else in this league, and it is exactly what Stephanie White was describing when she talked about her after the game. Now let's talk about what happened to Paige Bueckers in the fourth quarter, because this is the part of the story that defines what Indiana has become defensively. Bueckers had 29 points going into the fourth. She was playing the best basketball of her rookie season. Clark and Bueckers had been going shot for shot in the third quarter, and one of the most entertaining individual battles the WNBA has produced all year. And then Indiana decided the game was over. They trapped, they threw different looks at Bueckers. They denied her the ball in her spots. They held her to 2 field goal attempts in the entire fourth quarter. The #1 overall pick from this year's draft, who had been virtually unguardable for 3 quarters, was neutralized completely the moment Indiana turned it on, and Clark was the one directing traffic. Indiana opened the fourth quarter on a 15-2 run. Clark's 3 turned a 3-point deficit into a 10-point lead in one sequence. Ty Harris went 4 for 4 from 3 in the fourth and finished her career night perfect from the field. Boston scored 10 of her 16 points in the fourth when Indiana needed buckets most. 9 turnovers for Indiana in the entire game. White said after the game that when Indiana is under 12 turnovers, it is basically a win. They had 9. Against a Dallas team that had been competitive all night and had Bueckers playing at an MVP level on their end. The Fever are 22-12, 8 wins in their last 10 games, and they are doing it with a version of Clark that is making the historically great look routine.
I mean, obviously, like, my threes didn't go down early, so I thought that was like kind of my focus is just get my feet in the paint and good things can happen. And came out with a lot of energy, especially in the second half, and thought we played in transition better in the second half, so I was able to get to the rim a little bit. But the more I can do that, it puts them in rotation, allows my teammates to get open too, and I think it kind of opened the floor up for everybody as we went there through the end of the third quarter and into the fourth. So I think just attacking the basket is like, you don't fall in love with
a maestro. That is the word Stephanie White used to describe the player she has spent all season being accused of mismanaging. The same White who was being called for her firing by the Indiana Lieutenant Governor 5 days ago. the same White who told everybody else to go to hell before the Liberty game on Tuesday. She watched Clark score 16 points in the third quarter, hold Bueckers to 2 field goal attempts in the fourth, finish with 29 and 10, and called her a maestro running a show. That is a coach watching a player perform at a level that silences every argument about whether the right system is being run around her. When Clark is commanding the floor the way she commanded it in the second half on Friday, Indiana is the best team in this league. Full stop. Think about what the MVP conversation actually looks like right now. A'ja Wilson has been the standard for this league for the better part of a decade, 4-time MVP, leading scorer entering most weeks this season. And Clark's team just beat Wilson's team 3 straight times, including a 34-point blowout in Las Vegas. Clark has 20 career games with 20 or more points and 10 or more assists. No other player in the history of this league has more than 10. She is on pace to become the first player ever to average 20 points and 8 assists in a single season. She broke 6 records in a single night against the New York Liberty 4 days ago. And on Friday, she came out of a bad first half, made a tactical adjustment mid-game, scored 16 points in 1 quarter, held the best rookie in the league to 2 fourth-quarter field goal attempts, and won by 11 against a team that had been playing well enough to beat most opponents in this league. If that is not the most valuable player in the WNBA right now, then the award does not mean what the name says it means. And here is the part of this story that has been building quietly through everything this season has produced. The trade rumors, the Lynn Dunn weed out panel, the throat punch, the boycott, the presidential comment, the coaching controversies, the players defending their coach while their coach was being called a liability by elected officials. All of that is the backdrop against which this team has won 8 of its last 10 games and sits at 22-12 in first place in the Eastern Conference. And White addressed exactly that at the post-game podium.
She keeps people on their toes. She has a really good sense of understanding, particularly with Kelsey and AB, of where they're going to be, of when they're going to release, and how to get them the ball. And that keeps teams honest. But she's like a maestro. I mean, the way that she really runs our offense. I think when we're at our best, she is instructing. She is running it. Much like a show. And
that is the Indiana Fever in August 2026. A team that started this season with trade rumors sending their franchise player to the Sparks, a coaching controversy that never fully went away, physical attacks on Clark and Sophie that produced a 1-game suspension and a presidential comment, an emergency meeting from the WNBA commissioner, an Indiana lieutenant governor calling for the head coach's firing, and through all of it, this group circled their wagons. They have each other's back. Clark said she hated hearing her own fans boo her coach. Sophie defended White after Carrington left her bleeding on the floor. White called Clark a maestro. And the scoreboard keeps saying 98-87, 22-12. First in the East, Paige Bueckers had 29 points. She is going to be great in this league for a long time. Clark said so herself at the podium, but on Friday night in Indianapolis, Clark had 29 and 10 and held Bueckers to 2 field goal attempts in the quarter that decided the game. That is the real MVP. And the record book that now shows 20 career games with 20 or more points and 10 or more assists, more than double what any other player in league history has achieved, is the receipt. What do you think? Is Caitlin Clark the real MVP of the WNBA this season? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because Indiana visits Atlanta on Sunday, and this winning streak is not stopping. We will see you in the next one.